Hello dear students, welcome back to your science classes. How are you all? I hope you all are doing well. So students, I'm your science educator again here with a new chapter, and today we have chapter number 10, Evaporation and Condensation. Evaporation and Condensation. So let's get started. But before starting this chapter, have a look on your learning objectives. So first, evaporation factors affecting evaporation, uses of evaporation, humidity, condensation, dew, mist, snow, hailstones, clouds, rain, and in the last we are going to learn about the water cycle. So students, let's get started. First, evaporation. So what we understand by evaporation? Evaporation is the transformation of liquid into a gas. Basically, when you change your liquid into a gas, how can we change our liquid into a gas? With the help of heat. So this is referred as your evaporation. The steam you seen while boiling any food, boiling water, so that is referred as your gas. So the change of water into gaseous form is referred as evaporation. Okay. Next, energy in the form of heat causes evaporation. For example, evaporation occurs when wet clothes exposed to the sunlight lose all their moisture, or when water in an open pan within a warm room rise up. The heat of the sun makes water evaporate from natural bodies of water such as ponds. The heat of the sun makes water evaporate from natural bodies of what natural The heat of the sun makes water evaporate from natural bodies of water such as ponds, lakes, rivers, and seas. The water vapor thus formed mixes with the air. So what we understand here, with the help of heat, we can change water into gaseous form. That is why this process is referred as evaporation. This evaporation examples we have when we take our clothes outside in the front of the sunlight. So what will happen? The clothes automatically gets dries up. This has happened just because of the process of evaporation. So sun basically get evaporate water bodies as well, from lakes, from rivers, from ponds. The water will be changed into the gaseous form with the help of sunlight, because sunlight is basically hot. Okay. Now, factors affecting evaporation. What are the factors we have that affects our evaporation process? The first, water evaporates faster than they are. Water evaporates faster when there is more heat and when the temperature is high. So the how much high temperature we have, that much water will be converted into gaseous form. If we have high temperature, then more gas. If we have low temperature, it means low gas. Now water evaporates faster when the weather is windy. Weather is windy means, so with the help of windy weather, we can change our water into gaseous form faster. Now, uses of evaporation. Now, what are the uses we have for the evaporation process? So, evaporation plays an important part in the earth water cycle. The water evaporated from the earth by the heat of the sun later falls as rain. So the water which is converted into the gaseous form, it will be transferred, it will be recycled, it will be reused in the form of rainwater. So evaporation plays a very important role in the water cycle. Next, now what is the water cycle? We are going to study about this in our later section, but now for this you have to just simply understand it. The water in the lakes, ponds, and rivers, the water will transport in the gaseous form. It is the water will be using as the rainwater. Now, evaporation functions such as cooling process, air conditioning, and refrigeration system contain evaporates that remove heat and moisture from the surrounding air and reduce the temperature. So what we understand here, the evaporation function is used in the cooling process, in your AC, in your refrigeration, and in your other machines. Wait. Evaporation function, the way evaporation process, this function is used in your AC and refrigerator. What will happen here, that the moisture, it's reduced from the surrounding and the thing is automatically get cooler. So this is the process, this is the function we have for the evaporation. Next, evaporation of precipitation. Precipitation means perspiration. Evaporation of perspiration means sweat has a cooling effect on the skin and helps regulate the body temperature. So what happen? Our body how cool it itself only. So when the amount of heat increases in our body, we automatically getting sweat. So this is the process of evaporation our body is using to cool our body. Now we are going to learn about the humidity. Now what we understand by humidity? Humidity is the amount of water vapors present in the air in a particular place. When the amount of water vapor in the air increase in a particular place, the weather there becomes humid. So what we understand humidity? Humidity basically means the water particles in a particular place. If the water particles increases in that particular place, so you feel humidity. You observe in rainy season what will happen. There is a heat and there is a hotness which is humid, which is chippy, right? This is because the water particles, because it is raining, so the in air the water particle amount is increases. That is why in rainy season we feel that sticky heatness, and that is not refer is particular in summer season, that is your rainy season, because in rainy season we have good amount of water particle in air. Now, and you commonly hear this sentence, this word as well, that this time is very humidity we have. We can say numbing. Okay, so that is your humidity. Now when there is a less water vapor in the air, the weather is dry. This is the reason that places near the sea coast have humid weather. So what we understand, if we have low amount of water particles in the air, then your temperature, then your surrounding will be dry only. So it will happen in the winter season because there is no moisture, right? So and that is why, because the sea coastal area always having water particles in a great amount, so the coastal area is always humid. Now during the rainy season, air contains a lot of water vapor, so evaporation is slower on a rainy day than on a bright day in summer. That is why, because evaporation it's not be possible, because all time it is rain and there is no sunlight. So what will happen? The water particles still remain in the air only. So this time of rainy season will become humidity season. Okay. Next point which we have to discuss, that is your next process, which is condensation. So if we cool water vapor or steam, it changes back into water. This process is known as condensation. Condensation is the process by which vapor changes back into liquid. So what we understand here, you can understand here like this. For example, you take a ice cube, and if you take that ice cube in outside the refrigerator for a 10 to 15 minutes, so what will happen, that ice cube will change into the again water. So the process when the water is changes its a shape, basically its a position, that is referred as the condensation. What we understand by condensation, the word condense, when the particles get condensed, right, and further this particles is removed. Okay, so that is referred as condensation. In this what we understand, water on heating changes into water vapor, evaporation. Water vapor on cooling change into water, condensation. So evaporation and condensation plays a great role in the formation of rain and cause changes in weather. So with the help of evaporation and condensation, we see weather change, climate changes in our day-to-day life. Now, water vapor in the air condense to form mist, snow, hailstones, clouds, and rain. So, what we understand, with the help of water vapor and air condensation, so water vapor in the air condensation will be result into the formation of dew, mist, rain, and hailstones and clouds. So, first we have to understand how dew will make from the water vapors in the air condensation. So, Mm. So first of all, we have to discuss how dew forms. So when water vapor condenses on cold surfaces, it leads to the formation of dew. So what we understand, that water vapors when condense on cold surface, then are dew form. You would have seen water droplets on grass in the cold morning in winter season. So you see O's basically on winter season on leaves, that is referred as your dew. In Hindi we say os. In the cold season, grass leaves and blades also become cool. When water vapor in air comes in contact with the cool blades of grass, it condenses on them as tiny droplets of water. These water droplets are actually dew. So in winter season, the particles of the leaf, it also get cold. So when air is get in contact with that leaf, so the water particles in the air will change into the dew. So that is why So that is why in that way your dew is formed. Next we have mist. Mist means kora. Okay. When water particles condense on dust particles in the air, mist is formed. When water particles condense on dense dust particles in the air, mist is formed. We know that air contains dust particles, right? If you want to see this, you can take your torch, and if you on it, so you see the particles which is moving in the air. Okay, so those are your dust particles. During the winter season, water vapors in the air comes in contact with the dust particles in the air and condense into fine drops of water called the mist. As the sun shines, the water from the dust particles evaporates and the mist disappears. So you can see the mist only in the early morning, because at that time there is no sunlight. After sunlight is comes, your dust particles, your mist will be evaporates and the mist is disappears. Okay. Next we have snow. When water vapors freezes in the air, it forms crystal of ice known as snow. So what we understand, when water vapors get in contact with leaves, so it will be converted into dew. When water vapors contact with mist in winter season, with the dust particles in winter season, that is reversed as your mist. Now what we understand here, when water particles freezes in the air, okay, because the temperature is very cold, so it forms crystal of ice which is known as snow. And when the weather is very cold on high mountains, the water vapors in the air freezes into fine particles of snow called snow flakes. When the clouds move up to extremely cold regions, the water vapor within them freezes, give rise to snow. Snow is light; it falls like puffs on feathery cotton. This is known as snow flow. Experiencing snow flow in hill stations add to the charm of these locations. So, what we understand here, when the temperatures increases and the clouds, what will do they, the process, the water particles in the clouds will be converted into the snow, because the high temperature, and further this experiences this fall down, and it is referred as your snowfall. Snowfall is like feathery puffy cotton which is fall down on you, and that is why we enjoy hill stations, because we can enjoy snowfall there. Okay. Next we have hailstones. When water drops get very much cool, they change into crystals of ice called hailstone. Sometimes what happens, sometimes raindrops falling towards the earth are carried upward into a very cold region by the wind blowing at a great speed. These raindrops freezes into crystal of ice. These ice crystals fall as hailstones. Hailstones usually fall during summer rain. They fall with great force, so they are harmful to plants and animals. So hailstone basically your what we call it in Hindi, ole. Okay, hailstone, it's basically ole. What will happen here? That rain is coming. When rain is fall down into when rain is fall down with a very high speed, so the air will convert it into crystal of ice because of the high temperature. Okay, and that is why high temperature and high speed, so what will in result into this, they will be converted into crystal of ice. High temperature means cool temperature. Okay, the moment very cold temperature and very high speed, so what will happen, the rain water will be converted into the whole stones, and further it fall down on the surface of the earth. But it is very very dangerous for the animals, for the human beings, and for the plants as well, because they hit so bad. Okay. Next we have clouds. The water vapors in the air condense on dust particles in the form of in the air to form clouds. So what we understand, when our water vapors are condensed in air in the dust particles, so basically a water vapor condense on the dust particles in the air, which is further in result of the clouds. The heat of the sun makes water evaporates from ponds, lakes, rivers and seas. The water vapor moves up in the air. It meets the cool air above the condense on the dust particles as tiny droplets of water. These droplets of water join together to form clouds. So basically, when the natural process of evaporation it's going in proceed, what will happen, this evaporation process will be attack on the dust particles, and further these dust particles collect on with each, and tiny particles go along with each other, and when they connect in a big bowl, it will be converted into the cloud. So it will happen with the natural process of evaporation. Now we have rain. So when the drops of water in the when the drops of water in the rain clouds become very heavy, they fall to the ground as rain. As we already discussed in our earlier section, what will happen? The water, the evaporation of natural process, they have tiny particles of water, and when they attack on the dust particles, so they collect each other. So when the cloud, the when the amount is get higher, limitation, when the limit is crossed, the wait. So what will happen here, as we already discussed, the tiny particles, the droplets of the water will connect it to each other. And when we have a big amount, when we have huge amount, so what will happen? Clouds become heavier and it will result into the rain. So the tiny droplets of water in the clouds join together to form bigger drops. This makes the clouds get darker, and dark clouds are called the rain clouds. The drops in the rain clouds become very heavy, so they fall to the ground as rain. So you ever seen, if have you ever seen the rainy season? So what you observe, the clouds which you give rain, they are black in color. That is why we say dark clouds. So dark clouds get heavier, and that is why they fall down water in the form of rain and on the surface of the earth. Now we have water cycle, how it works. So first of all, as we already discussed, that rain is the main source of the water cycle. So the water on the earth moves continuously from the water bodies to the air, to the land, and back to the water bodies. The sun's heat evaporates water from the water bodies. The water rises as invisible vapor, calls black, falls back on. The sun's heat evaporates water from the water bodies. The water rises as invisible vapor and falls back to the earth as rain, snow, or some other form of moisture. This moisture is called as precipitation. This unending circulation of earth's water, it's the this unending circulation of this unsend this unending circulation of earth's water, it's called the water cycle. The amount of water on the earth remains almost the same due to water cycle. So first of all, we have to understand why we called it water cycle. For example, you have an amount of water on the earth. Just because of your water cycle, your amount of the water will remain same after using so many water. How will happen? As we already discussed, that sun have a natural process of evaporation on river, on lakes, on ponds. This evaporation further converted into clouds, and when these clouds get heavier, when they have a lot of tiny small drops of water, they will be fall down in the form of rain. So what will happen in this, we understand first, this is the process. First we have evaporation, further it will be converted into clouds, means condensation, then further it will be converted into rain, and further it will be transferred into the rivers, into the ponds, into the lakes, and as the groundwater as well. So this cycle is repeat again and again, again and again. So that is why we called it water cycle. And with the help of this water cycle, the amount of water remains same on the earth. So students, this is the end of your chapter. I hope so you understand the water cycle and also understood the above concept as well. Now I'm going to meet you in your next class. Till that, bye bye. Have a good day.